Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name's Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northwest of England near Manchester. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, crochet, sewing and a whole range of other fibre crafty goodness, and trying to incorporate a slow living or slow fashion agenda into that. Regular visitors may notice that I'm 2 weeks late recording this. That's because I've had problems with my eyes for the last couple of weeks, so not only could I not really see to podcast, I also didn't look particularly attractive, so I didn't think I'd force that upon you. Right, I've got a lot to show you today because although I couldn't really see to podcast, I have done a fair bit of knitting and finishing and sewing. Okay, right, I'll start with what I'm wearing. My lovely hand-spun Enchanted Mesa jumper by Stephen West. I know you've seen it on the podcast before, probably at least twice, but I do love it, and it's been keeping me very, very warm today. I've needed it because it's been really quite snowy. So I'm just looking. I'm recording in a different place today, and I can see a view over the fields and the hills, and to a Victorian monument up on one of the hills out the window, and because it's all covered in snow it really does look lovely, but I'll try and focus on the camera rather than out the window. Yes, and my hand-spun Croydon cowl, you can't really see the texture on it in this light, but it was one of my recent design publications. Okay, and I'm wearing hand knit socks as well today. All the woolens came out to play because I don't think it's due to get above -1 today. I do really need one of the things that I'm working on to keep all of me warm, but that's going to have to wait until I finish my Christmas crafting, but I'll come back to that later. Right, finished objects. I think the first thing that I finished, trying to pick things off without knocking them over, were the Hermione's everyday socks for my niece. I don't know if you can get a proper picture of the texture there. It's a bit hard to tell in this striped wool, but they're just using some drops Fable. I can't remember what colourway it was because I've made socks for myself out of this. I've had socks for both my daughters out of this, and now I've got socks for my niece out of it as a Christmas present. The last episode I mentioned that for some reason it was a centimetre too short, so I did rip out the toe and re-knit it longer. Now I don't know if you can see, but they do match. Now I'm not one who normally bothers. In fact, I prefer my socks not to match, but this matching accidentally of socks, and another pair that I'm working on have matched accidentally as well. So I found that if I use the Drops Fable and I'm knitting a UK size 8 sock, then they do they do seem to match. So that was quite interesting, and I'm very glad that I finished those in time for Christmas. Now normally when I knit socks I do a Fish Lips Kiss heel, but these have got a modified, oh it's quite bright, modified Eye of Partridge heel with a garter stitch bit down the side, and I really like this, so I might, even though it's heel flap and gusset, I might try doing that on some socks for me at some point soon and see how well that fits, because there's no gaps down the side, which is what I didn't like with heel flap and gussets that I'd worked before. It's not as quick as a Fish Lips Kiss heel, but we'll see. Right, so that's finished object number 1. Right, finished object number 2 is something that you haven't seen me work on. My oldest daughter suddenly decided the other day that she wanted a shawl for wearing because it was cold, and I did say that she would have to wait until Christmas and see what turned up. So I raided some of my very old acrylic stash because I know what she's like. She'll wear it for a while and then it'll end up getting dragged around the rest of the house and used for bundling up toys and things like that. So I wasn't going to use some of my nice woolly wool on her. I needed something a little bit more robust and wouldn't complain too much if it got mashed banana in it and then it had to get thrown in the washing machine. Right, you're not going to be able to see this very well. There we go. It's I just made it up myself. It's crochet, and it's sort of an elongated crescent. Very plain, but with a bit of a lace pattern on the edging, so it should be long enough so she can either wrap it round her shoulders and have it draped over like a traditional shawl, which she quite likes doing because she likes pretending that she is very old-fashioned, or she can wear it in a more sort of modern context, keep her neck warm as well. So hopefully she likes it. She blonde hair and blue-eyed, and very much does suit this colour blue, so we'll see how well that goes down at Christmas. I am quite tempted to try and work this up in some nicer actual real wool for me, and I might make it a bit deeper and see how that works, but that's a long way down the line because I've got many other things to finish before then. So yes, crochet shawl for my eldest daughter. Right, I showed you a couple of pairs of well, one semi-finished pair of slippers that I was knitting last time, and I showed you I had some wool for doing another pair. It was using the Shack & Meyer Wash and Filz big colour wool. Now the first pair I finished and sewed a button on and sent off to Scotland because they were a gift for my sister-in-law, and then the second pair I've knitted, and I can't decide whether to keep them. They've turned, because I said if they turned out nice I'd give them to my mum, but if they turned out a bit iffy I'd keep them for myself. Now they've turned out nice, but I'm not sure if they're a little bit narrow on the feet for my mum, so I might take them for when I go up at Christmas, but not as a Christmas present, just say there is this as well if they fit, but if not I'll have them back on my feet, thank you. So yes, hopefully I've put a picture of the two finished pairs at the beginning of the episode, but here they are. Here's number one. Oh. Is that going to be any better? No, I've got it right across my head now. But yeah, here's one. So it was quite fun actually, because once they're washed and felted, you do have to wear them for a little while they're still wet. So they are bent to my sort of foot shape, which is quite interesting. Now, the only thing I will say is that the back bit around your foot isn't very deep, so I am worried about how well they'll stay on once they're on. But having said that, when I was wearing them while they were still wet, to shape them, they did stay on okay, but I don't know how that would work for the rest of it, like a full day. And there's the other one. There we go. Oh, sorry. I'm very much in a rush today to try and get recorded before my other half and my smallest child come back from where they've been. So it was either record with the lighting as it is or miss another week, which I really didn't want to do. So yes, I finished two pairs of slippers. One's here and one's gone off to the recipient. Now, this was only finished over the weekend, but I absolutely love it. Now when I was getting them ready, I'd only brought one through, so I've just been back to find the other one, and then couldn't find it again. It was on my knee in a big pile of other stuff. Right, these, it smells so sheepy, it's wonderful. These are the lambing mitts. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll put the link down below. These are actually another present for, he's not going to watch it. I think he watched the first episode, but then just to pick on me, but I don't think he'll watch it again. These are for my brother. Ooh, there we go. And they're lovely. I mean, they do look like they fit me, but they do stretch to fit in a man's hands. I think they do 3 sizes on the pattern, and I was worried they'd be a bit small, but the knot. You can wear them folded down like that, or if it's really cold, you can roll it up. Obviously with somebody with bigger hands, the fingers stick out slightly out the top, but so you can still do things but your hands don't get too cold. I really liked this wool. It's I don't know, West Yorkshire Spinners Aran weight, 100% Jacob, and it is wonderful. It's really lovely to work with. Really cheap actually for wool. I think I picked this up in Abercan for about £5 for a 100 gram skein, which I thought was good value for money, because I've knitted these lambing mitts and I've still got a decent amount of wool left. So I think if I've got 2 skeins, I could have easily had matching hat and gloves, no problem. And it was lovely to knit with, and I do keep smelling it because it, like I say, it does smell sheepy. And I think at some point in the future, I don't know when because I've got a massive amount of wool in my stash already, I would like a jumper or a cardigan in this wool, because even though, I mean, I don't know if you can see, yeah, it looks, you can see it's really quite fuzzy, but it doesn't feel itchy. It might on some people. I have to admit that I am quite tough when it comes to the more rustic fibres, and I don't mind having them on my body even without something underneath. But no, very, very nice wool. So that's another finished object. Can you tell I'm in major Christmas crafting mode? Now, I did start slightly earlier this year with a plan that I'd not rush myself and I could take my time and it'd all go nicely. But because I started early, I keep adding things to my list of things. Oh, I've got time to make that now. I started earlier. No. Do not really have time to make it. But we'll see. We'll see how I get on. If I don't get some stuff made, it's not the end of the world. I don't normally tell you what I'm drinking because I'm usually only drinking black coffee. But today I'm drinking a really nice tea. It's English Tea Shop, chocolate rooibos and vanilla. And I won it in the school Christmas hamper the other day, and I am absolutely in love with this tea. I'm not sharing it with anyone else in the house. They can have anything else out of the hamper, but they're not having this tea. It's mine. So, very much enjoying that. Right. Other things. I haven't actually got the finished item to show you. I'm swapping about between sewing and knitting and crochet and everything because I'm just a bit scatty today. But this is a finished object, but you won't get to see the finished object because it's actually at school. I'll put a picture in probably at the end. And it's, I made, crikey, this new look pattern, 6479, you can just see around the corner, and I made view A, this dress, but without the pockets and without the rick-rack on it. And I made it in the 6-year-old size using this beautiful gold and red fabric, which I got last year from Abercan to make some Christmas stockings with. But my oldest daughter is a narrator in her school nativity this year, so she didn't need a traditional angel or Mary or donkey costume. She had to wear just a pretty dress. Why she couldn't have worn a nice smart trouser and shirt combination is another matter, but no, she was told she had to wear a dress, so I made her one. She's only 4, but she's giant, so that's why I made her the age 6. And so it's made with this red and gold fabric, and it's got a white ribbon belt and a white and gold lace trim at the bottom, but you'll see it because I'll put the picture on it at the end. And she loves it, and it fitted wonderfully, and I was surprisingly surprisingly, I can't think of the word, conscientious enough to finish it all properly, because normally with her fancy dress costumes it's just basically sew it up, off you go. And I have to say, doing that, most of them have stood quite well, but I thought, right, well, this is an outfit that she could potentially wear again, like for parties, or because she just like putting fancy dresses, pretty dresses on every now and again. So I thought, I need to make a good job at this and sew it well so that it has some longevity to it, and because once she's grown out of it, then it needs to be something that can be passed down to her sister, probably in a lot of years, because her little sister is not a giant and is in clothes younger than her actual age group. But yeah, so I French seamed all the seams on the inside at the bottom, and the seams on the bodice, what did I French seam? I think I French seamed the ones down the side, but the shoulder seams I covered with bias binding on the inside, and then it's got bias binding around the neckline and around the armholes as well. So theoretically you could turn that inside out and it would look as pretty on the inside as it does on the outside. So I was really quite pleased with that. Yes, so hopefully she'll not trash it at school during her nativity, which is this Thursday, so fingers crossed. Right, partially finished object. Now this is a shawl for my sister-in-law for Christmas. She likes cats, and earlier on this year she lost a cat that she'd had for, oh crikey, about 15 years, possibly if not longer, and he was a beautiful silvery grey and cream coloured cat. So I thought this shawl was perfect for her as a reminder of him. Now I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. It's another crescent shaped shawl with a garter stitch section at the top, and then lace section at the bottom, and then this really interesting bit here. Look, it's a cat face. Let me show you one that's a bit. There we go. I've got to sew the beads on, the pink bead for the nose and green beads for eyes, and it will look better, and then I've got to block it, so hopefully it'll look better still. But I was knitting this when I was knitting this white lace section when my eyes were at the worst point of their gamminess and not being able to see. So the lace isn't perfect, and I did consider ripping it out and starting again, but she doesn't knit, so she won't know that it's not meant to be like that, and you can still see the cat faces, and I think once it's blocked it will be fine. So yes, I'm just going to leave it as is and let it go. But yes, this just needs blocking, and I really love it. It's called the What's New Pussycat shawl by Jemma Arrowsmith, and I guess it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but I'll put the links below, and I'll put a picture at the end of it probably when I've pinned it out for blocking, which I plan on doing later on today. Sorry, it's got a glare, you can't really see that well, but I did change it slightly because you see where I've got dark grey, then a cream stripe, then dark grey, then into the lace. It should be dark at the bottom, cream lace here, then a stripe or a thicker stripe or a dark colour again, and then this top garter section in the cream again. But I wanted it to be primarily dark rather than primarily cream, so I just mixed it up a little bit. Now one thing I will say is that this top edge, I'm not sure how well it's going to block out because it is very tight. So we'll see what shape it ends up, especially because you start at the top and work down, and then for the lace you cast on again and work up, and then you do a 3 needle bind off on the middle section, and again that's a little bit tight, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect blocking, but we shall see. Other than my inability to follow lace instructions when I can't see, it was really quick and really fun knit. So yes, I would recommend that pattern. Right, another partially finished item is my crochet shawl for my blanket for my youngest daughter. Now, I did put the instructions for this. Ooh, it's quite big, but not full single bed size. It's because she's still only in a child size bed. I got to the point where I thought, right, I can't. Well, for one, I didn't have enough wool, scraps, because it's made with scraps, and for two, I didn't have enough time to finish a full single bed size quilt and blanket, and she didn't need it because she's still only in a child's bed. So I made it big enough for the child's bed, with a view that in later years, when I have more scraps and she has moved on into a bigger bed, I can just increase it, because it's got no edging on it, so it won't look odd. I will just be able to pick up where I left off and work it again, and you won't be able to tell that it's different, other than the fact that it's using slightly different colours. So yes, I did put the instructions for this on my blog, which is themanyknitsofnadine.wordpress.com. Now, the instructions on there are very much quick and dirty recipe. This is how it works, rather than a written pattern as such. It's not quite up to the standard that I would normally do for my, well, certainly not up to the standards I do for my written knitting patterns, but it was enough to there we go. Hopefully that's slightly better now. It's going to move around and it's just going to fall away, but never mind. Yes, waffle. Hopefully it's enough to be able to recreate this, if you like the look of it. But yes, so hopefully she'll love this. I have got all the ends to weave in, which is a lot. There's probably over 300. But never mind, it'll get done. Part of me did think, could I just knot them and fringe it? But then I thought, no, I do need to weave them in. Right, I think that's it for finished objects. We are into works in progress now. So, still on the needles. Oh, sorry, I didn't say, the Jemma Arrowsmith What's New Pussycat shawl was worked using some King Cole Merino blend 4-ply superwash wool. But that's because she's not a knitter, and I needed it to be able to be washed by somebody who doesn't understand hand washing hand knits. I wouldn't necessarily use that for myself, but it was nice and soft, and I thought she'd be able to take care of it without worrying about ruining it. Right, right, yes, work is in progress. The Cafe Macchiato socks, again in a Drops Fable. I did have the ball band for this, but I've dropped it. If I remember, I'll put the actual colourway down in the drop box below. These are the Cafe Macchiato socks, so they've got a crossed stitch section down one side of the foot. These are for a Christmas present for my brother. I've made him some of this sock before, but that was a few years ago, and not in this colourway. It's good because it's slightly more interesting than a plain vanilla sock, but not so complicated that you have to concentrate too much on it. So I've done the first sock and I'm halfway through the heel turn on the second sock. I'll put the link to the Cafe Macchiato pattern down below because I can't remember the name of the lady that did it. I'm not really with it this morning. So hopefully they'll be finished in time for Christmas. And again, I've got them matching accidentally because they're a size UK size 8 as well. So yes, and I know the Drops Fable is a superwash wool with nylon content, but I do have quite a bit of it in stash, so I'm using that up for my sock knitting because it's stash wool, and again it's because it's going to be gifted to people that aren't knitters and aren't necessarily up to speed on taking care of woolens and hand knits in more natural fibres. They need something that they can throw in the washing machine and treat quite badly. Mind you, I do that with my socks as well, but then they are pretty much all in similar wool to this, apart from the few pairs of hand knit, hand spun socks, which I will wash by hand. And I still have to wash by hand because I did wash all my other socks at the weekend, my other hand knit socks, and I've still got my hand spun hand knit socks to go, and one pair of commercial yarn socks to wash by hand because they're red and white, but the red colour runs, so I have to wash those by hand. So that's that. Now, sewing on the knit that's in progress. For Christmas, I am making my daughter's, I'll just drop the pattern, some pyjamas. Now they're summer weight pyjamas, so if they wear them anytime soon they'll definitely have to wear the dressing gown with them and vests. But I thought I'd use the Simplicity 8101 pattern, which is one by Dottie Angel. You saw me make a tunic out of this for my oldest girl earlier on in the year in some dinosaur print fabric, but I thought I'd use this as the pattern for the top. So I've done view B, which is the tunic length one, and I've kept it tunic length, I've not shortened it, and I've not done the pocket, so it's just a plain tunic type top, and I've drafted a pair of pyjama bottoms trousers for my oldest, but I've drafted a pair of pyjama short bottoms for my youngest. One, so that they were different, but two, because the piece of fabric I had for my youngest daughter was shorter, smaller than I'd have for my eldest. Because my eldest, I had a decent amount, it must have been at least 1.5 meters, if not more, of quite a wide fabric, whereas for my youngest I definitely only had 1 meter of that. Right, for my oldest, I love this fabric. I think I've shown it to you before and said I was going to make this pattern in it. That's Simplicity 8101. But I had planned on it being like a tunic that she would wear during the day, but having shown it to her, she wasn't keen on that idea. I think it was a bit jazzy, but I think I can get away with it as pyjamas. Now it's Robert Kaufman fabric that I picked up again in Abercan. This is the top, and as you can see, it's covered in Doctor Seuss characters. So we've got Horton, Cat in the Hat, the Grinch, Fox in Socks, Thing 1 and Thing 2. Oh, the one about the scrambled eggs. I can't remember what his name is. The Lorax is on there somewhere as well, I think. Oh yes, here. There's the Lorax just on the edge. I've done all the machine sewing. I've French seamed the insides of these as well, and I've hemmed it. But I just need to put a elastic gather in the middle there, and on the front and back, and then do bias binding around the neck and the armholes. So, and then these are the trousers. So they're really, really jazzy. I finished all the machine sewing on there as well. But I made a bit of a boo-boo with these. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that's dreadful lighting. Yeah, I made a bit of a boo-boo with these because I forgot, when I was drafting the pattern for the trousers, I forgot to allow extra width at the top for making an elasticated waist. So I'm not sure that that's going to be wide enough to do an elasticated waist. She's very skinny, but I might have to do a button waist somehow. I'll come up with another way of making it work. So that's those. And then for my youngest daughter, I used a slightly more subtle fabric. Now, I did originally get this for myself to use in another Dotty Angel pattern, possibly for the Dotty Angel frock, or like making pockets or a contrast band on it. But I went through my stash and thought, actually no, this is the nicest one that I've got that's big enough and would be suitable for my youngest daughter. So I let her use it instead. Hopefully she likes it, otherwise I'll be really cross. But it's this really sort of nice blue and cream floral, and this is the top for her. Now I've made the age 6 for my oldest daughter, but this one's an age 3, and I think it might be too big for my youngest daughter, even though she is 3. Again, I've finished all the machine stitching on here. It's, like I say, it's French seamed on the inside, and I've just got the bias binding and the elastic to put on it. And then these are so cute. These are the little shorts that I've made for her. They're so lovely. So yes, I've just got to put some elastic through there, because I did, when I drafted these, take account of extra room for elasticated waists. Now I'm just going to move the other curtain a minute to see if that improves things, because I've still got a couple of bits to show you, and I don't want to be in a glare or annoying people with not being able to see things properly. Right, excuse me a minute. There we go, that's better. Hopefully you didn't see too much of my tummy and bits stretching across there when I was sorting the curtain out, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Right, so that's all the things that I've been making. No, it's not. I've got one more work in progress to show you, and that is the thing that I mentioned earlier that I really need at the moment because it's very cold and I've got a cold bottom, and that's the Mama Lookers by Maya Carlson. Now these are a sort of pair of woolly knickers, knitted shorts. I showed you them last time. I've finished the ribbing now and I'm working on the stockinette section, so I'm most of the way through the increases, and I think then I've got a bit that I work straight and then I start on short rows for shaping round bum. I must admit I worked on these for a while after the last podcast, but then had to put them aside to try and get stuff finished for my Christmas makes, so they've not seen a lot of work. I think I hadn't quite finished the ribbing last time I showed them to you, so they've probably only got about 2 or 3 inches on since then. But as soon as I've got all my Christmas stuff out of the way, I'm working on these full out, because I really do want them, and I think they're going to be fabulous and keep my bum nice and warm. They're knitted using the Oricania Ranco, I can't remember the colourway. I think I did mention it in the last episode, but if I remember and get round to it, I'll put that information in the drop box below. Right, I did just want to show you finally a couple of things that I've got since the last episode. I was due to have a copy of the Japanese Knitting Patterns book that I'd pre-ordered through Amazon, but they're sold out, and I'm waiting to find out when they're going to get any more, because I really wanted that. But I know Danny from Little Bobbins, she'd got a copy of it recently, and she said she got hers through another site, so I might have to look to see if they've still got it available and cancel my Amazon order. Mind you, I had just added it to my Amazon list because I was making up the amount to get free postage on some other Christmas presents I was ordering. So theoretically, I shouldn't really buy it again, but I might, because it's useful to have stitch dictionaries. Anyway, another thing that I ordered, although I did order this just because I wanted it, was the Stylish Dress Book by Yoshiko Tsukiori. Now, I love the patterns in here, and I want to make more dresses to wear as tunics rather than necessarily as dresses next year, as part of increasing my handmade wardrobe, particularly dresses with pockets, because we all need more pockets, and ladies' clothes without pockets in wind me up no end. Right, so there's 26 different patterns in here, and there's a fair few that I do want to make. I think I'm going to start with 2 and see what actually works in my wardrobe. And the 2 that I want to start with are this shirt dress here. So they're nice and loose fitting, so I don't have to worry about my mummy tummy, and good and long, and I quite like the style of this shirt dress, although I will have to insert pockets into that on the side seam, I think, because it hasn't got any. And I'm going to take sleeves off, so I can wear a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt or something underneath it, or to make it easier to wear jumpers and hand knit jumpers and cardigans over the top, because the sleeves in these are quite baggy, and I don't want that rumpled, crumpled bunching up that you get if you sometimes wear hand knits over things with sleeves. That's the first one that I'd like to make, and the second one, I mean, it says this is a stylish dress book, but there are some tops and sort of slightly shorter tunic length outfits as well. I think it's going to be this one, which is the one on the cover. This one here, because that does have pockets in, and I'll just take the sleeves off. So yes, I don't know if I will do the patch pockets on the front, or if I'll put the pockets in the side seams. Right, because it's baggy anyway, I think I might actually leave them as patch pockets on the front. Yes, but I should have. I'm just debating whether the fabric I've got in my stash is going to work for these patterns. I know I've got some really sort of quite bold florals, but I'm trying to think how I can make that look modern, because it might just look like I'm an old lady wearing a house coat if I'm not careful. But yes, another thing I liked about this book was you get a biscuit recipe in the front, because a lot of the biscuit recipe, a lot of the outfits are styled with somebody eating biscuits or drinking tea and what have you. So yeah, I thought that was brilliant because I love baking and anything that combines crafting and baking, and yeah, happy with that. So yes, like I say, I'm going to planning on making 2 dresses out of that, and it's a really good book, and it gives lots of different patterns. I think it's a few years old now. 2012 it came out, so everyone else has probably already heard of it, but I know I was having a search on Pinterest probably for some Japanese dress patterns, and I came across a blog where the lady had made a lot of these patterns in some really bold and very colourful fabrics, and they looked fantastic. So I thought, yes, they would work in probably not quite as bold and jazzy fabrics, but a bit more toned down. So I've got more wearing options across my wardrobe. I should just embrace the whole bright and colourful mismatched thing, and then I could wear everything without worrying. But yes, so thoroughly recommend that book. It was I don't know if it was about $14.99. So for 26 dress patterns, most of which I would make if I needed them. I think there's only a couple that I thought they really wouldn't suit me. I wouldn't necessarily use the fabric that they've used, because the few of them they've done in sort of sheer fabric. But no, so I thought that was a really good price for 26 patterns. And then the final thing I wanted to show you was this. Because it's winter, my hands have been really dry. I mean, so much so that I'm not even wearing my ring at the moment, because it was bothering me, because I don't know whether I've got some eczema on my hands or whether it was just dry skin, but I thought, oh, I need something that's a little bit kinder on my hands, especially with all the knitting as well, because I didn't want to be catching and snagging on particularly my lacework. So I went on Etsy and found this. It's a Sandalwood lotion bar from Ellis Farm, and they're in the UK, and it smells absolutely lovely. It's got a lot of beeswax in it, hence the bee on the front. But you see, it's been made in a mould with the honeycomb and a bee print on it, and it's lovely, because I got one for me and I got one for my mum for Christmas as well. Because she always has dry hands, and I thought, I'll give it a go, and it does. It makes my hands feel really, really nice, and I keep it in my knitting bag, and yes, it's been improving my hands no end, and it smells lovely. I think that was quite cheap as well, because it's quite a big bar, and the tin is reusable for whatever I decide to put in it, probably stitch markers or something. Can't put the lid back on though, cross-threaded it. There we go. Yes, so I'd recommend them if you're in the UK. If you're in the US or anywhere else, the postage might make it not a reasonable purchase, but I'm sure there's something similar locally that you can buy. But yeah, so that's nice, and we're very much enjoying that as my winter treat. Okay, I think that's enough waffling, given that I'm at nearly 45 minutes today, and I normally try and keep it under half an hour. I'm sure I've not got that many minutes left before my other half and my small child turn up either. Sorry this has been a bit waffly, but I did want to show you everything that I've been working on, and we are sort of 2 weeks behind schedule. So hopefully the next episode we'll be a bit more focused and together. I think I'm due to record that in, I was going to say 2 weeks, but I might record it early and do not a work in progress thing, but a roundup of my year, and how I've managed to stick to the goals I set at the beginning of the year, and how well I've managed to include a slow living and slow fashion agenda into what I've been making. Doesn't feel that like I've stuck that closer to it at some points, but then if I actually look at what I've made for myself, I'm probably doing quite well. It's only when I think about what I've made for other people and as gifts that it's not necessarily as slow as I'd like it to be. Right, thank you for sticking with me, and if you've made it to the end, well done, go and get yourself a treat. You deserve it. And hopefully I'll see you possibly next week, or maybe early on the week after. Alright then, thank you very much. Bye bye.